In an automotive world that's heading towards an all-electric finishing line, one legendary brand is deliberately taking a different path. While many of its rivals are betting the long term on batteries, Porsche, along with a few others, is making what looks like a shocking U-turn. The very company that gave us the all-electric Taycan is now doubling down on petrol, planning to keep their combustion engine roaring well into the 2030s. This isn't just a minor course correction, it's a fundamental break from what pretty much everyone else is doing. Porsche is delaying new EV platforms, extending the life of petrol-powered icons like the Cayenne and the Panamera, and even changing plans for its new flagship SUV. That vehicle is only known as the K1. And that will now launch only as a plug-in hybrid, not as a pure EV. But this massive strategic shift has sent shockwaves through the industry, making others ask, is this the best way forward? So the big question is Porsche making a genius move that saves the soul of the sports car? Or is this a catastrophe, a mistake that will leave one of the world's most popular iconic sports brands choking in its own exhaust emissions? I'm Dave, and I'm looking into what the future holds for Porsche and others who bet all on petrol. Well, to really get why Porsche is doing this, you have to look at the massive shifts happening in the global car market. That initial explosive hype around electric vehicles, that's over. The market's settling down, and the EV is now just becoming just a standard car with a different, albeit cleaner, fuel. The early adapters have gone. The serious buyers are taking over, and it's not turning out to be anywhere near as easy as many people thought. Now, remember when Tesla started? Everybody, absolutely everybody was saying, you just wait till Ford or GM or VW or Mercedes or Toyota, the real experts, the recognised professionals who've been doing this for 100 years, you wait until they decide now's the time we're going to get into EVs. They're just going to absolutely destroy Tesla in a moment. This is what they had to do, but they didn't. They had a go, but they instantly found that making an EV was not just a matter of finding new suppliers and carrying on as normal. They tried that, and Ford to this day is still heading rapidly towards a financial disaster. If we use Ford as an example, they launched their first EV, the Mach-E, in 2020, 5 years ago, sat back and waited, and nothing much wrong with the car, but once the early adopters ran out, sales have been, well, pretty dismal. The Mach-E has sold something like 250,000 over the last 5 years. And the F-150 Lightning fared even worse. A pickup truck from the multi-decade world leader in pickup trucks, that one barely reached 50,000 units sold over 3 years. The sales now are just plummeting. That was a massively expensive exercise which Ford is still paying for to this day. Toyota, in the meantime, didn't even bother. They just ignored EVs altogether until very recently. Well, VW got probably about the closest to making anything of EVs. Their ID3, that one's sold about 500,000 since launch, and all their IDs combined are just over 1 million. So it's a far cry from dominating the world EV sales. The Golf alone in the old days sold about 40 million cars. ID sales, by the way, they're also starting to collapse. And Porsche is feeling this turbulence directly. Their brand is facing a perfect storm. Demand for the Taycan has never been what you could call strong, and it's already weakening. The Macan, that's a bigger success, but not setting the world on fire compared to their petrol models, like the 911 or the Cayenne. As Porsche's own CEO, Oliver Blume, admitted, we have seen a clear drop in demand for exclusive battery electric cars, and we are taking that into account. The dream of a smooth, lightning-fast switch to an all-electric world is cracking, and Porsche is scrambling for an answer. So this isn't some blind leap of faith. Porsche's move is a calculated gamble, and it's built on 3 key pillars: passion, profit, and pioneering new technology. First, let's talk passion and profit. For countless enthusiasts, the soul of Porsche isn't just in the handling or the design or the performance. It's the whole package. It's in the sound and the feel of its combustion engine. A flat six scream from a 911 is a core part of the brand's identity. Porsche knows that abandoning this heritage too quickly could drive away most of its loyal customers. And these aren't just any old customers, they're people willing to pay a serious premium for that experience, making cars like the 911 and the Cayenne incredibly profitable. These high-margin petrol and more recently hybrid models are the financial backbone of the company. They generate the cash needed to fund the ridiculously expensive transition to all electric, which costs billions in R&D, new factories and battery tech. In a very real way, every petrol-powered 911 they sell helps pay for the next Porsche electric. Well, second, this isn't just about holding on to the past. It's also about inventing a totally new future for the combustion engine with e-fuels. Porsche is pouring money into developing synthetic carbon-neutral fuels. Basically, e-fuels are made by taking hydrogen split from water using hydrolysis from renewable energy, mixing it with carbon dioxide captured from the atmosphere. The result is a liquid fuel that works in a normal engine but has a tiny carbon footprint. Porsche has already got a pilot plant working in Chile, making this stuff, and is testing it out on the racetrack. Porsche's CEO calls e-fuels a worthwhile complement to EVs because they could allow the millions of existing cars on the road to become cleaner. Well, this positions Porsche not as a dinosaur anymore, but as an innovator exploring a third way forward, one where the thrill of an engine can exist alongside climate protection. But it's not working. Unless you count 30 litres of e-fuels a day, compared to 42 billion litres of fossil fuel petrol sold in the UK alone in 2021. It's not going to work in the near future. See, nobody has masses of electricity excess in their national grids to be able to use some of that for very efficient fuel. Yeah, EVs run at 97% efficient, while e-fuels are well under 50% in the making. They're even less efficient to burn. And the technology for capturing carbon out of the air is in its early stages. Finally, add in that the exhaust emissions are anything but clean. Burn anything in the air, made up of 78% nitrogen, and you get nitrogen oxides, plus the usual carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and finally PM 2.5. Recent tests have shown that although they are very much cleaner to make, using renewable energy, they are no cleaner to burn, and many governments have had their fingers burned, first with pushing diesels as cleaner. That failed, then pushing PHEVs more recently. That's failed. They'll be very worried to be caught out again. It is being heralded as a clean fuel, but, well, it possibly can be until you burn it. But the plan falls apart when you see world sales of petrol cars. They're crashing like lemmings off a cliff. Start with China, the largest new car sales market in the world. They've just gone all in on EVs. EV sales are well above 50% and climbing rapidly, while petrol, well, it's obviously below 50% and falling. With a now well-established manufacturing base turning out locally made, really good EVs, that trend can only accelerate. The petrol car market in China is slowly shutting its doors to them and all the others. Then there's America and tariffs. Unless they make the Porsches in the US, which they don't and have no plans to do so, they've just become horrendously expensive, adding at least 15% to the price or cutting 50% off the profit and absorbing the tariffs. Either way, not good for the future of Porsche. The US export market has also just slammed their doors in Porsche's face. And sales in Europe are falling. They fell 10% in Europe, excluding Germany, the home country, where they fell 34% in 2024. The doors in Europe are gradually closing and are unlikely to be able to support the company the size it is for very much longer. In fact, just recently they announced the loss of 3,900 jobs, that being about 10% of their entire workforce. That's a massive blow. Porsche has also adjusted downwards their sales forecast for 2026 for the fourth time. Yeah, Macans are doing sort of very well, even the Macan EVs, but the outlook is pretty dismal. It's not a good omen for profit. The biggest factor they have not faced up to is the utterly unthinkable, the one they simply can't accept. Porsche is undoubtedly an iconic brand with a seriously dedicated following of very rich people. But some of the new EVs are, well, I'm sorry to say, they're just better. And some of their buyers are going to start drifting away from Porsche and finding these alternatives. See, Porsche might have the captive audience for track racing. And here, there are absolutely, undoubtedly world leaders. But how many people ever drive their cars on a track? At one time, in the era of the supercar, if you wanted the fastest cars on the road, you went and bought Lamborghinis or Ferraris or Porsches or Bugattis. If you were poor, you'd go and buy a Lotus. No other cars came even close. But EVs have shattered all that. Many of the top-end models now have 0 to 60 times well under 5 seconds. BYD Seal has a variant called the 3.2. Now, some people are suggesting that's the efficiency, 3.2 miles per kilowatt hour. In reality, it's probably more of a suggestion this is the 0 to 60 time, although officially they state 3.8. But there are plenty more. The new MG IM5 does actually get there in 3.2 seconds. The Ioniq 5N does it in 3 seconds dead. And Tesla offers 3 incredible models: the Y Performance at 3.3, Model 3 Performance at 2.9, and the Model S Plaid 1.99 seconds. Now, while the Porsches do start at about £60,000 for that, you get a very lacklustre 6 seconds. You will need to spend many times that amount to get the ultimate performance. A 911 starts at about 120,000, but ultimate performance tops out with the GT3 RS at about 200,000. And they do state that it focuses more on track performance rather than outright raw straight line speed. I believe that Porsche believes it has its market secured for the foreseeable future. There will always be people who are willing to pay the ultimate price for what they offer. I'm not so sure. They now have competitors priced under £50,000 and top out with the Plaid at $106,000. That's a staggering performance. And these are full 5-seater saloons with maximum comfort and plenty of boot space at half the price. So you do have to wonder how much longer Porsche customers will remain loyal. Their market as a whole is definitely shrinking. It must affect them, and the sales figures would indicate they're not immune. The problem with Porsche is they've got no other answers. Their EV range never really took off, so EVs are not the immediate answer. The traditional ICE market is itself shrinking at an alarming rate. How much longer will that hold out? E-fuels are not here yet, and they probably never will be. It sounds like a niche market. They don't really have any other answers other than let's just go back to what we used to do. And we have no idea how the climate is really reacting. We go from it's all the hoax from Trump, through sensible world leaders who are really getting more and more concerned, to the outright, it's already too late, Greta Thunbergs of the world. It's only going to take a real scientific breakthrough or dramatic climate change that nobody can ignore for the whole world population to suddenly flip and get behind immediate and permanent change. We did it with the hole in the ozone layer down in the southern hemisphere. Now, that one was actually really easy. Relatively few of us ran air conditioning at the time, and we barely noticed the change of the gas in our aerosols. The next change could directly hit burning fossil fuels, and that might be a lot more dramatic and affect us an awful lot more directly. So this strategic pivot for Porsche comes with a staggering short-term price tag. Shifting a company this big is a massive financial drain, and Porsche has been upfront about the hit to its profits. The company is preparing for extraordinary expenses. That means a surprise of around €3.1 billion for the 2025 financial year alone. That number covers the cost of shuffling its product strategy, writing down investments in now delayed EV platforms, and restructuring its battery business. Porsche has slashed healthy 5 to 7% profit all the way down to just 2% or just slightly positive. Even its parent company Volkswagen is expecting to take a multi-billion-dollar hit from Porsche's new direction. Porsche's finance chief, Jochen Breckner, has made it clear that while these investments hurt the short-term results, they are seen as absolutely essential for long-term success. It's a planned financial hit they're taking now to build what they believe will be a stronger, more profitable company down the road. The hope is that this pain will be temporary, with the company plans and directions aiming to return to stronger growth and profits from 2026 onwards. It's not going to take very long to find out. Well, before we give you our final take, we want to know what you think. Is Porsche saving the soul of the sports car industry while making a brilliant business decision? Or is this another costly, backward-looking mistake? Let us know what you think in the comments section down below. If you're enjoying this breakdown, do us a favour and hit those like and subscribe buttons. So, in conclusion, is Porsche right to focus on petrol cars? The answer isn't a simple yes or no. The company isn't actually choosing petrol instead of electric. It's more choosing petrol as its main focus, in addition to the absolutely inevitable rise of electric and alongside hybrids and e-fuels. As Oliver Bloom, CEO, said, they want to offer a mix of everything to meet the entire range of customer requirements. Question is, can they afford it? Well, this strategy is born from a new reality. The road to an all-electric future is not going well for Porsche. It's a lot bumpier and more complicated than anyone thought. In this uncertain environment, Porsche's bet on flexibility could be seen as a stroke of genius. If they keep advancing with EVs, even just in the background, let them keep selling the profitable high-demand petrol models that define the brand for a while longer. It's what they do with that longer that worries me. Critics will argue this is a defensive move that will let them become more agile or all-electric competitors in the future. It won't allow the competitors to pull ahead, especially Chinese. And if EVs do finally succeed, it could put Porsche out of the picture in just a few years. Porsche's supporters will see a company as listening to its customers, respecting its own history and making smart, practical decisions in a chaotic world. They see a brand that refuses to believe the future of the car is a one-size-fits-all solution. So ultimately, it's a gamble and nobody knows the result. But I'm going to keep watching, keep reporting on what's actually happening. So until the next one, I'm Dave.